poor favor.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's a screen share. We're live. Do.
Oh, we
Oh,
are?
hey,
We are.
good morning. We're live. Let's throw let's throw a little bit of light on my big fat ass.
Oh, we can see Chris's his background there.
Oh,
Isn't that nice?
yep. And my crackers that I had for breakfast at 1 o'clock.
That's racist
Yes,
and
that's exactly
cannibalistic.
what I was going for. Um, so I actually want to open the show this morning with this. Uh, One of our viewers, who's a buddy of mine, Alex, brother, you're killing me with these memes. He just keeps he sent me a few of these now, and I mean, you're just killing me with these.
So, can I just admit that I'm jealous. It seems that our fans are both more thirsty for you and more willing to make fun of you. It's like, do
Well,
I
I'm
just
delicious.
exist to make you look good?
Yeah, that's basically what you're here for.
Well, glad I can be good at something at least.
So what are we talking about this morning? Cameroon,
Well, let's
who lives in
see.
the interestingly contested 14th district of Georgia.
Yes. And we will get to the WTF here shortly. But it appears as though there is going to be a runoff between Marjorie Greene and John Cowan. I did eventually decide to vote for Marjorie Greene, and it was actually the arguments that you made yesterday that convinced me of it. Because, yes, she did live in Fulton County, and yes, this does appear to have a lot of opportunism baked in. Absolutely no doubt about it. However, your point about the rhetoric that is necessary in order to actually have the fight and have a real shot at winning made a lot of sense to me. And the good thing about Congress is if she ends up being a shitty congresswoman, I mean, we can just vote her out in 2 years. Not hard.
Right.
Um,
And another. Let me just bolster the point I was making yesterday a little bit, because the the pieces of the point that I shared were with reference to the use of the German language, the calling everybody a Nazi, calling everybody Hitler, Trump is Orange Hitler, all that crap, and the conversation we had about the secular devil, the secular demon. It's oh hey look, I found a superlative pejorative. Oh yeah, well, if you had an intellectual capacity, nuance could perchance enter into your conversational capabilities, but obviously you're a Democrat, so nuance. Um,
Not today.
and honestly, even just their moral inadequacy and rhetorical incompetency could be forgiven and retained in the position of political opponent until it became the habit. And keep in mind, I mean habit. I really do mean the habit of the left. These riots of the last week and change, not a recent anomalous new occurrence. Lest we forget the Battle of Berkeley, the love dumpsters. Um, just
Well, hell, April 26, 1992. There's entire songs written about it.
yeah. Um, when the left doesn't get when the left doesn't get their way, when the left doesn't get the government to point guns at white people and steal their money, they just set shit on fire. It's what they do.
I think it'd be more accurate to say that generally they have temper tantrums. Like, I'll never forget that one protester on their knees when said Donald Trump is the president of the United States and we want everybody to scream no. And I can't even, honestly, I've watched the clip several times. I don't even know if it's male or female, which,
No, the
big shock.
the one in the green jacket thing.
I'm not going to scream the way they scream because
No,
there are
please,
still
God,
people in my
no.
house
And I'm
asleep.
and I'm wearing headphones. My hearing is mostly gone, but these are very loud headphones for that reason. Um, but
So
yeah,
just
the fact of the matter is that what would otherwise be the opposition habitually resorts to not incidental violence, no, to the burning of buildings, to rioting and looting and murder.
well, they also do the whole suppression thing, and it's I would argue that's actually part of what propelled Marjorie Greene into the top spot. And to be clear, she hasn't won it. It looks like there's going to be a runoff between her and John Cowan, and that could completely change the flavor of the race. Though Marjorie Greene is sitting on a huge war chest, so I'd say she has the advantage. But the thing that gave her the advantage in the first place, I would argue, is the suppression of her ads. Because suddenly you've got Tucker Carlson talking about it on one of the highest rated cable news shows. And I can tell you here in the 14th district, um, if you look at the demographics, there's probably more people older than me that are more inclined to watch Fox News as opposed to people my age and younger that are more inclined to watch content like this to gather information. Like, I guarantee you, like, my mother-in-law, God bless her, she doesn't know who Tim Pool is. Okay. She doesn't, but she knows who Sean Hannity is. So the suppression was probably the absolute biggest mistake. She probably could have been knocked out, at the very least slowed down, had some kind of a ceiling on her level of support. But I think once her ads started getting suppressed, and people saw it on Fox News, they were like, well, I'm getting me a Marjorie Greene sign. Screw you.
Yeah. Oh, and, I mean, plus just the once Twitter and Facebook both removed her and the ad ran, just Tucker talking about it. That's his audience seeing the ad. That means that everybody that watches Tucker and doesn't live in the 14th talks to whoever it is that they know that lives in the 14th or just Georgia.
Yeah, kind of like what happened between the two of
It's
us.
right, and it's the Streisand effect, right? It's almost exactly the Streisand effect.
Yes,
Um,
suppression doesn't work. I've said over and over and over again, what you need to do is give actual neo-Nazis a microphone. Let them spout their bullshit. Let the rest of us make fun of them, and then they'll go home and cry in their basements, and they'll actually be less of a problem that way. But no, you suppress their rhetoric, and suddenly you're actually going to increase their appeal because now they're verboten. Yeah, it's and you'd think that liberals would understand how the dissemination of ideas and information work. And actually, I think they do, but they've got the left has gotten such an authoritarian streak to it that they just don't care. You will have the right think, or you will be shamed. Like, I swear, they get hard-ons thinking about that social credit score that China's got. They get hard-ons.
and yeah, and you know, they like to call us fascists. They like to call conservatives fascists. You know, it wasn't that long ago that the big complaint on the left was Donald Trump is not doing enough to shut the country down for the pandemic. Of course, it was only about 3 weeks before that they were calling him a racist for shutting down travel to China. But whatever.
And only about 3 weeks before that, they were still accusing him of being a Russian and Ukrainian asset. Like,
Oh, you mean when he was first taking serious actions against the pandemic and they weren't even mentioning it because they were so busy conducting Russia to the Ukraine Boogaloo? You mean that?
yeah.
Cause yeah. Okay, so this is going to be a light morning because I
You
just haven't dug into the election results yet.
so you don't have anything. I watched a good bit of Polytech stream last night, but since I don't live in Rockdale, I didn't have as much of a dog in the fight. Do you have
Right. I
like for
didn't
example?
I didn't catch it. Sorry, Danny. I missed y'all last night. I had some other stuff going on. Um, But the thing about the elections last night, apparently it was hot and wet, and there were a lot of long lines. So right now we're basically looking at just I had an article pulled up about it. Oh, there we go. There's the AJC. Okay, so we're gonna go to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Purdue no primary opponent, but here's what I'm not gonna go line by line about who won and who didn't. Y'all can read this for yourself, but I do want to show there's a lot of this. Race hasn't been called. Race hasn't been called. Oh, this has been updated because there were a lot more of those when I looked at it half an hour ago. Okay, and yeah, it's showing that. Oh wow. Okay, so that's interesting. Because the thing I was going to point out on this running list was how many races hadn't been called, and it was like half of them, maybe an hour ago, and now it looks like everything has been called except for these three, the second district, the first district, and there was one more there. Anyway. So there was a little bit of a hiccup, long lines and stuff. I've already seen a bunch of people on Facebook just, well, I hope everybody who wanted to vote had the chance to vote, and I've been commenting on those wherever I saw them. They did. They absolutely had the chance to vote. For the last several weeks, early voting has been going on for a month.
Yeah, and honestly, shit right up your nose with early voting. Like, but that's a whole different thing. I have no sympathy for you.
Well, and once you're in line, the polls are open until the line is empty.
That is correct. That is correct. That is actually, in fact, the law, and it is the understood policy. All you got to do is get in line, and you will vote. Period. I mean, as long as you've got your ID.
And you don't quit.
Right. Well, and I can't help but notice, because one of the things I was watching last night was some of WSB's updates. I was kind of flipping between Polytech Stream and WSB. And Fulton County extended their polling hours, and DeKalb County extended their polling hours. Wait a minute. So you mean Deep Blue Atlanta had to extend their polling hours? Okay. All right. But meanwhile, Deep Red Polk County, where I'm at, didn't. And they actually, and I got to give them credit, the building that I usually go vote in it's basically a come catch all for dances, functions, banquets, dinners, all of that sort of thing. And it's got multiple entrances and exits. And they had very cleverly planned out how you could have people stand in line inside the building and still be socially distant from one another. So all of this stuff where you're seeing people sitting on the sidewalk in the rain, I realize Fulton County is a different place than Polk County, but it's not just because of the architecture. It's also because of the leadership. So if you were hot and miserable while you were voting, I don't know, just maybe consider who you vote for. You know, as Martin Luther Cream has pointed out recently, a lot of these districts have been blue for decades, and they're not getting a lot better, are they? Just saying.
Not getting better. That's generous.
I was trying to be charitable. I hope it came across. Okay, so
yeah, it is dishonest to be charitable to Democrats. There is not one consistently blue district in the country that has not become a more dangerous place over the last several decades.
Okay, fine. It's dishonest to be charitable, but maybe still kind. But the point, the point lands, I think, either way.
Basically, it's civic suicide to vote Democrat.
Especially in the modern day, like because they're not even Democrats anymore. They're almost to the point of
They're
being naked
communists.
socialists. Yeah, yeah, and you know, they totally have hot sauce in their purse, and they totally wear Kunta Kinte cloths and kneel for 8 minutes on marble floors.
9 minutes.
Whatever, man. Whatever. They totally make sure that George Floyd has a gold casket.
Yeah. God, and oh God, yeah, and I saw the gold casket. Jesus, man.
Oh, hey, look, I just accidentally segued us to our WTF.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do the WTF. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. Um, yeah, WTF CNN. The it's the giant gold casket, the state funeral, the all that for George Floyd. Same thing with Michael Brown, Ahmaud Arbery, uh, Eric Garner. That was his name, right? The fat guy that fought the cops in New York. Stop
Yeah.
lionizing monsters. It is not heroic to commit suicide by cop. Okay, the George Floyd's death might be tragic. I'll grant that. It may be that it was a bad kill in police custody. I'll grant that. But losing a fight to the cops does not erase your history of violent criminality and habitual drug abuse. And it certainly doesn't erase your involvement in the absolute abuse of a pregnant woman during a home invasion.
Yeah, and this is not just WTF CNN. This is WTF every major network. They all ran the funeral. They all did. The only positive that I can hope to pull out of that is a lot of times funerals give people a sense of completion or closure. The grief doesn't necessarily go away, but you've at least gone through the first step, as it were. And I really, really hope that this is what this is. Though I doubt it, because I mean we gave the guy the modern day equivalent to a Viking funeral, and for what? For what? And look, just stop with the lionizing of these people. Okay? Stop turning them into martyrs. Because look, as you said, George Floyd was a criminal. He was not a good dude. Okay? And even Eric Garner, who committed the minor offense of selling loose cigarettes, still committed an offense. Breonna Taylor was listed on the warrant. Trayvon Martin punched George Zimmerman in the face and then sat on his chest and kept punching him in the face. Philando Castile, turns out he had a big old sack of weed in the car. Okay,
A jar.
And yeah, okay, fine. Again, weed's not that big of a deal. But every single time you hear this, he didn't do nothing. That's just not the case. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. I actually want to engage in this conversation with you people, but because you start with such an absolute bullshit position that goes something to the effect of, oh, black skin and it's done nothing wrong and is so oppressed. And I mean, like, no, for God's sakes, no. Stop it. Stop it. Do you want more Trayvon Martins? Do you want more George Floyds?
Yeah, because
Fine.
if you want more suicide bombers, offer them 72 virgins. I mean, a
I
gold
mean,
casket.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Who gets a golden casket? Well, it turns out 46-year-old thugs that get so high on meth and fentanyl, the 911 operator, the 911 caller tells the operator that they believe George Floyd is drunk, which means even if he didn't commit any other crime, he definitely committed DWI. I mean, so, I mean, for God's sakes, people, stop it. Just stop it.
And all the George Floyd didn't deserve to die. Um, I would like to hear what Matt has to say about that.
That's a really good point. Or sad students against drunk driving. Saint Michael. I don't even know if I'm. See, and it's funny that he references Al Sharpton because Al Sharpton was there. I, I heard I heard it asked. It said, "Hey, did Al Sharpton pay the Floyd family to be there, or did the Floyd family pay Al Sharpton to be there, and how much was it?"
They paid each other. It's kind of like the Democrats and Planned Parenthood. It's just this bizarre, incestuous, sister humping, money laundering thing.
Yeah, but
They have
but
4 teeth and a checkbook between them.
but, but seriously, it doesn't matter how far down the line you go. Look, it just keeps. It's such a perpetuation of such a myth. It feeds itself now. It's it's sad, it's dangerous, it's divisive, and it is going to lead to the deaths of more black men. Anthony Bryan Logan and Brandon Tatum and a few others made a point that I hadn't even considered, and it was mind boggling. But apparently, very frequently in the black community, especially in lower income black community, you go to college, you do all the right things, you get good grades, you get a degree, and then you go to college. Okay, boys,
Focus. Keep talking.
I'm trying. You go to college,
I can
get a
laugh for
degree,
both of us.
you come home, and people are nice to you. Oh, okay, then what are you gonna do? What kind of a job are you gonna get? But you get busted for assault or selling weed or even murder. You go to prison for 5, 10, 15 years. You come home from that and they throw you a full-on block party with girls and drinking and smoking and carrying on, and you basically have a hedonistic ghetto Woodstock. Why did they throw that kind of party for college graduates? What is with the glorification
Because
of?
we do.
I don't know that I've ever seen one of those parties at your house, sir. But I mean, not since we were teenagers.
You've only been to the lake the once.
But apparently, there's already this divide that exists in the black community, and this whole thing with he didn't do nothing seems to tie into it. So from this point forward, not only am I going to assume that he didn't do nothing line is bullshit, but I'm going to assume that that it's bullshit.
Yeah. Every time you see the headline, Dindu murdered by white, it's false. Every time.
At least the Dindu part, even if murdered by racist white proves itself to be true, which it very rarely does, by the way.
When has it?
They'll say what?
When has it proved to be true?
That might be what shakes out in the Arbery case.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm just saying facts are facts.
I know.
That might be what shakes out in the Arbery case. But even in the Arbery case, to say Arbery didn't do nothing, no, actually he had a long criminal history.
Yep.
And he kept trespassing on this property. And apparently that house had been trespassed in so many times there's actually a Facebook page, like a community watch Facebook page, where people would post pictures and videos of people going into this house. Look out for this person. Look out for that person. So, so yeah, like even Tamir Rice, okay, the closest to didn't do anything wrong. Yes, he was just a kid. He was playing with a toy gun. He'd removed the orange tip from his toy gun, and so it didn't look like a toy anymore. And that officer didn't just arbitrarily gun him down. He fired once. Like, he
Yeah.
could have emptied the clip. So, so anyhow, long story short, stop lionizing bad men. Maybe lionize good men, or hell, just maybe lionize average men. How about that? Just start there. Just some guy that actually marries the mother of his children and works 40 hours a week. Lionize that guy. But we're going to have murals and gold coffins for George Floyd. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be a black person and see the scum elevated and the people doing the right thing are barely even mentioned. I cannot even grasp how that would affect my thinking. Well, I can guess, but I mean, emotionally, I can't put my brain around it.
If you want to put your finger on systemic racism, look at the habit of the left and of the media to lionize criminals and to tell the story that we've talked about here before, that it's just normal teenage behavior for young boys to engage in recreational felonies.
Yeah, I mean, me and you
it's
got up
not
to some
normal.
shit, but not a lot of felonies.
Being 16, 17, 18 years old, running around stealing cars and toting guns, that's still crime. And I've never stolen a car.
For that matter, I've never stolen a gun.
Or drugs.
Yep.
Never stolen drugs.
Guns. Never stolen guns. Never stolen drugs at gunpoint in a stolen car. Let's just go ahead and
Haven't
put a
done
button
that.
on it.
Haven't done that.
Hey Dave, good morning. It says it looked like a president's funeral procession. Yes, yes it did, and all of the virtue like the governor of Texas going coffin side. Ah, man, Abbott. Like you lost a point with me there. I realize I don't live in Texas. I ain't gonna vote for you, but I'm a huge fan of Governor Kemp. But if Governor Kemp had gone and visited the coffin, Governor Kemp would have lost a point with me. Just
I'm also a huge fan of Governor Kemp. I like Brian, but he he has found himself on my shit list over a couple of tidbits of late, not least of which is the Arbery debacle.
yeah, yeah, and that's something we'll come back to. We're planning on doing a pop-up this weekend with my dad, Officer Anderson Part 2, and we'll discuss all the cop related stuff. So be looking for that.
Not
But
sure how I feel
otherwise,
about Officer Anderson. We need a catchy nickname for him, like, I don't know. Anyway,
no, go ahead.
Dave, you tuned in late, so you missed that one. I can throw you a little something extra. There's your bonus. We're about to wrap it up, though. I think I think we're about ready to wrap it up for the day. Do you have anything else there, Cameron?
No, I feel like we pretty well nailed it. Just WTF every single channel. I mean, that's about it.
All right. Well, y'all be safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow. Keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope for a solid Totar win from today, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye bye.
All right, man. I'm gonna go do the work.
Yeah, I've got a fucking meeting in 20 minutes.